What's the worst way to break up with someone? By not even communicating the breakup but still communicating with them, while slowly becoming less and less talkative until they finally figure out that the relationship is over in their own. It's slow torture. Just be honest and straightforward. My ex broke up with me by changing his Facebook profile picture to him in bed with someone else, then later texting me to confirm it was over. My college roommate spent an entire weekend with his girlfriend from another state knowing he was going to break up with her. When he took her to drop off at the train station on Sunday, he waited until she was leaning in with the car door open to kiss him goodbye. Broke the news instead of kissing her, didn't even unbuckle and get out. She stood there stunned with bags on the curb and he closed the door and drove off. I thought that was pretty shitty. Pick out another dude you think is a little cute, fuck him at work a few times, bring home crabs and chlamydia, claim that both are really only fleas from my virgin saint of a dog, and spray paint my car for not being cool about everything afterwards because I should know how redheads are. Oh, and then try to kidnap the same dog whose reputation you attempted to besmirch. It's been 12 years now, Stephanie, but I really should buy you a trophy or some shit for that, you crazy red-headed cunt. By notarized letter. Probably either on the second day of a 7-day trip, or on the second hour of a 9-hour fucking bus ride where you still have to be within 10 feet of each other for the rest of the damn trip. Not that I'm bitter or anything. Over text right after they tell you they have cancer. Bottle it, marry them, then spend 30+ years together. By marrying their sister. She had her mom do it for her. My former girlfriend came from an obscenely wealthy family and never had to deal with any real-life matters herself, her folks handled everything. This left her lacking in the maturity department. Her folks never liked me, the poor artist boyfriend wasn't a suitable fit for their daughter, and decided it was time for me to go. Girlfriend's folks had the locks changed on the doors of the condo I'd been sharing with her, which they owned, and her mom was waiting outside when I arrived home from work. She informed me that the relationship was over and that I should gather my things while she waited. What folklore creature do you think really exists? Megaconda. It's just a really, really big anaconda, and since those snakes grow continually throughout their lives, I wouldn't be surprised if some have, in the past, gotten over 50 feet or more. Might not be new to most people, but the jackalope actually does exist, technically. The jackalope is a North American legend, a rabbit with antlers. In reality, it's a rabbit suffering from a virus that causes weird growths on its head. Mokelmbembe. A sauropod that lurks in the massive jungle/swamp/rainforest in Central Africa. NYC sewer alligators. In the early 20th century, small alligators as pets were apparently a popular thing among kids, and when they started to get too big, parents allegedly disposed of them by throwing them down the drain/into the sewers like dead goldfish. I can totally see them living off the massive sewer rats and growing to be a decent size, and a dark dank muddy environment like the NYC underground seems like a viable habitat for them. They were also the inspiration for Doc Connors from Spider-Man. The Pokai, https://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/Pokai, of Maori myth. Or at least, it did exist. We've got fossils. The Maori killed off its food supply. Edit, it's the Haast's eagle. I think orang pendek, https://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/orang_pendk, probably existed until relatively recently, still probably may be extinct for thousands of years though. The stories make sense, they are widespread and common in the areas it was said to exist, and there is a fossil record for small hominids in other islands in Indonesia. Most of the ocean things I wouldn't be surprised by. Considering coelacanths were thought to be extinct until relatively recently, I think it makes sense that there's all sorts of crazy shit down there that we might never discover. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. Also Mothman, just because I think it's hilarious and too ridiculous to be fake. I would not be terribly surprised for us to discover a North American ape or monkey living in the deep woods. But I will be shocked if it is more than 2 feet tall and 50 pounds. We humans are unbelievably bad at estimating size and distance. Ask any hunter about ground shrinkage, and that is on an animal they love and know passionately and spends years staring at. Someone catching a glance of something odd and remembering it huge is not even a little unusual. The two I think are most likely. And hashtag X200B. The Kraken. Giant squid have finally been conclusively proven to exist in the last decade or so. It's not beyond belief an even larger variety is out there, or was still extant in the age of sailing. And hashtag X200B. The other is Bigfoot/Sasquatch. While the most well-known sighting/recording has been proven a hoax, the stories of them go back hundreds of years in native tribes. The description is not that far off from the Gigantopithecus that once really did exist. While it seems unlikely a sustainable breeding population of those could have remained alive this long, it's not /impossible/. We've rediscovered other species thought extinct, and the Pacific Northwest is huge and there are a lot of very remote forests. I'm a lot more dubious of this one, but these are the two that seem the most plausible to me. Edit. I've been told multiple times that the Patterson film was not disproven, so I stand corrected on that. For some reason I thought I heard he recanted it as a hoax, but I am in error. The Kraken is almost definitely an extrathesea colossal squid and I want him found. People who used to not believe in ghosts but do now, what experience changed your mind? I was 8 when my grandma died. I was sad. So around 2 months passed and I was going at grandma's house where my grandpa lives. So I wake up at 3 a.m. and hear footsteps from bedroom door. I froze. I saw my grandma walking up to me and she said hello little sweetie and walked away. It was not sleep paralysis because I could move my hands and feet. At morning I told to my grandpa about it and he said I've seen grandma almost every night, she likes to visit, so don't be scared next time when you visit. Sorry for bad English, English is not my first language. Oh, I have a story. So in high school, I worked kids' birthday parties. The place was basically a giant gym, and gymnastics/dance classes were also held there. One day, I came in, and one of the girls I worked with, who was very spiritual and very religious, was totally freaked out. During the gymnastics class she taught that morning, one of the kids was staring up at the ceiling. When she asked the kid what he was doing, he said there's a little boy up there and pointed at the ceiling. Strange enough, but whatever. Kids are weird. Later, 2 girls who were working a birthday party before mine came out of the gym and were visibly shaken. A pair of 5-year-old twins went down a slide and then stared at the ceiling. They both said that there was a little boy up there, in the same spot on the ceiling that the kid from the morning gymnastics class. We all went in and inspected the ceiling. Of course, it was just a regular, gray, warehouse-y ceiling. But we were all super freaked out at that point. During my party, I was pushing a little boy on the giant swing we had in the gym. He, too, began to stare at the ceiling. He said directly to my face, "Hey, there's a little boy up there." We told all of our co-workers and managers about the 3 separate experiences we had today with children from different parties and classes seeing a little boy on the ceiling. The next day, we had downtime between parties, and nobody was in the gym. There are cameras in the gym that allow parents to see their children playing from the lobby. My manager called us out of the break room, "Guys, check this out." We come out and see the screen, which is streaming from the gym, showing that giant swing going back and forth. Nobody's in there. It's just the swing going. And hashtag X200B. I like to think that the ghost was truly a little boy who just wanted to play, and he finally got to go on the swing. Could be worse. So my grandma used to live with me. She was in the room next to mine and would get up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom, which is in my room. There is drop from her room to mine, so we put a night light outside the bathroom so she could see the way. It was like this for about 12 years. Only a few days after she had passed away, I was in my bed with my cat and dog reading a book or something. I remember my cat and dog both waking up and looking to the night light. My cat got up and went to the light, pawing at it and making nosies. My dog just stayed still, not barking. I would grab him so he would calm down or go to sleep, but he never took his eyes off that spot. That's when I saw what I can only say looked like light bend around the night light. I was positive it was my grandma coming back to use the bathroom and or check on me and the house. To this day, she died about 5 years ago, I still have that night light there and turn it on every night for her. I haven't seen her or experienced anything like it again, but I'm sure she's still around. I was always on the fence about ghosts because there was no scientific evidence of them being real, and I was going through a big question phase with religion/afterlife at the time anyway. But my family moved into an old farmhouse when I was 12. This was a very old farmhouse with a build date around the Civil War. The original owner's name was still on the old barn out back, and we found numerous old antiques built into the walls when we completely renovated the place. A few odd and end things happened after we first moved in, but distinct things started happening to myself after I turned 16. But never to my sister until after she turned 16 too. The most prominent memory I have. The upstairs consisted of 2 bedrooms. One bedroom was the room at the top of the stairs, the second bedroom was in a separate room just to the left of the top of the stairs. I had the private room and my sister's room was the landing. When someone walked up the stairs it was very distinct, you could hear each individual step and the creaks got louder as the person approaching got closer. So one night I am sitting on my bed watching TV or something and I hear my sister come up the steps and go lay on her bed, so I start talking to her. When she doesn't answer me I get annoyed and go into her room to figure out what her problem is, only she is not in there. My mind was blown because I know I heard her. I call for her and she had been downstairs the entire time. We never felt threatened. But it did seem that this entity liked picking only on women. Even my mother, who absolutely doesn't believe in ghosts, had to admit some odd things had happened. I think the funniest thing was having my ponytail pulled while I was doing the dishes. I don't know why it was so funny, it just cracked me up that whatever it was felt like playing with my hair. I saw a reflection of myself at the end of a hallway in a friend's apartment building, only he told me the day after there was never any mirror in the hallways. My girlfriend's grandfather's ashes were on a little shelf in the living room, right next to a very solid/heavy angel statue. Well, one weekend she and I are fooling around on the living room couch and out of the corner of my eye, I see the angel statue fly off the wall, accompanied with a deep grunt. Now when I say this thing flew off the wall, I'm talking 7 to 8 feet of air before landing on the hardwood and leaving a dent where the wing hit. Even if this thing had fell off the wall, it would have dropped straight down, not soared with force. Well, we both stood there in shock, and I whispered if she had heard the grunt as well, to which she agreed. So we both booked it for the day. Well, that night at dinner we told her parents what happened, leaving out the naughty bit, and Megan's younger sister burst into tears saying she had seen a dark figure at the foot of her bed the last couple's nights but didn't want anyone to think she was crazy. Grandfather that died had mental health issues that caused a lot of pain. Welp, after that day I was a believer. My wife and I swear that our daughter used to talk to ghosts when she was a toddler. She was an only child at the time. First instance I remember, was her telling me that she was talking to Nana. That's what I called my grandmother, who passed about 15 years before my daughter was born. My daughter was young and so I hadn't even talked about Nana to her, so I showed her a picture and asked who she spoke to. There were 4 women, 3 of which I didn't even know, but without hesitation she pointed to my Nana. Okay, no biggie. Some months later, my wife and I are trying for baby number 2. After my wife gets pregnant, my daughter is sitting next to her on the couch and puts her head on her belly and says, "Mommy, there's a baby in there." Okay, maybe that's coincidence. She overheard us saying something. A few weeks later, my wife miscarries. Maybe my daughter picked up on our sadness, who knows, but she again puts her head on her stomach and says, "Mommy, there's no baby in there anymore." Then, several months and one more, very early, miscarriage later, my daughter tells us, "I was talking to my brother last night and he said that my sister is coming to live with me soon." Again, she's an only child and had no living brother. We were still trying at this point, but had not taken any tests. We picked one up that night, and sure enough, pregnant. When time came to reveal the gender, I wasn't even interested. My daughter had already said it was a girl. Sure enough, I have two daughters. In 2011 I was studying abroad in Morocco. We were staying in a riad in the Medina of Marrakesh with tall, ornate windows. I had one roommate who was already asleep this night. I thought I saw her sitting up in the bed next to me wearing all white. Suddenly I saw a white, hazy thing vaguely shaped like a person floating above me next to the big windows. I was so scared I went in the bathroom, turned the light on and stayed in the bathtub all night. My roommate didn't see anything. I was having a conversation with my mom when I was a teenager. Mid-sentence I felt a hand grab my arm and looked to see who it was. No one was there and my mom didn't see anyone. Apparently the same thing happened to my sister a few weeks before. Also all the random voices and bags falling off shelves and moving shadows in the periphery. I believe it was just the house that was haunted, but they weren't malicious so it was all good. Once when I was in university I went to go see my therapist whom I had been seeing twice a week for about 5 months. On this day he was uncharacteristically quiet and I asked him if he was alright. He said he was fine, and we continued through what would be one of our most breakthrough sessions. A lot of repressed memories came up through it that have helped me to heal. At the end of the session I asked him why he was acting differently today than other days. He said when I walked in I was accompanied by a warrior-like person. He said he had the overwhelming feeling to perform as best he professionally could that day, and that he got the sense this warrior had fought a lot of battles to protect me. This would seem coincidental, except for 10 years later I was living on the other side of the world. I had a Puerto Rican neighbor I would see occasionally and eventually got pretty close with him and his family. One day as I was walking by he kind of gets quiet and weird and then says in broken English, "Do you know there is a soldier who follows you around?" I knew instantly who he was talking about. In both instances the warrior/soldier was described the same, just over 6 feet, blonde curly hair, wearing primitive warrior clothing, and strangely a white guy. Neither of these people could have known that my closest brother who passed away at 14 was over 6 feet tall with blonde curly hair, and always was my protector. Edit, got me some silver and cake. U Davis Reddit. Smiley face, what's the sluttiest thing you've done? I fucked my stalker's mom. Edit, I decided to put the follow-up things here for the new people who don't want to go digging. My stalker used to be FWB with me, and I cut it off because she was getting kinda crazy. Like showing up at my job and trying to follow me home while messaging me constantly about everything she's done for me and how I must be with some worthless whore or something, crazy. The mom knew about the stalking and actually sought me out to try and figure this out because she was telling her batshit things about me. We got to drinking and, well, she can actually deep throat. The morning after was awkward to say the least. But goddamn the catharsis of it all. I actually hooked up with the mom more than once. Partially because she knew what she was doing and partially because fuck you crazy girl. Not my proudest moment really. People hear this story and think it's a brag. It's not. The only reason I was such a hoe back then was self-esteem issues and this was honestly kind of a low point for me. Edit. Holy shit guys, this post exploded. I'm used to giving D&D advice, not this. Let me see if I can answer some of the more common questions I've seen. Why did you do it? Because I was 19. It's a despicable age. And I'm not one to turn off the charm. At least I wasn't then. Put yourself in my shoes. I was young, drunk and horny. Some people get kids out of that. I got this story. Are you / either of them hot? Matter of opinion. I thought they were both attractive. And I think I'm maybe above average in appearance, but I'm no Adonis. Why did you and the mom continue fucking? Because we were both pretty good at it. There wasn't anything crazy or Machiavellian happening there. She told me her ex made her feel trapped and abused, and I blanketed her insecurities with semen. What happened when the stalker found out / how does the story end? It ends rather unceremoniously, as most things do. We decided we had done this enough and moved on. To my knowledge, the stalker girl never found out and stopped cold turkey. Her mother told me that she'd found someone. I'm happy for her. Worried about who she found though. Are you a man or a woman? Why do you refer to yourself as a hoe if you're a man? Sluttiness is a state of being, not a gender. I am a man. Get your shit together, Reddit. I feel bad for her. You're mean and she was nice. No, she fucking wasn't. Those who pity her in the situation in the sense that she was in love with me and I was the one being reclusive to her, or either projecting their own past drama, never had a stalker, or both. I stopped being FWB with her not because she was clingy. I've dealt with clingy. My wife is clingy. Stalker was terrifying. She would cycle between death threats and poetic adoration in the same sentence. She was unstable. Near the end she was seeking out my friends and sending me pictures of them at work. Girl was nuts. I hope this cleared things up for you. I'm not some sex god. I'm a happily married man with a bald head and a young face. I'm no bro. I'm just a guy who could fly under the radar. TLDR, I fucked my stalker's mom. That's the story. When I was in college, I worked at a day spa and did massage. As a guy, I only massaged women, but there was nothing I wouldn't do for a nice tip. Anything a woman asked me to do or directed my hand to do, I did. Anyway, a customer asked about me making a house call and offered me cash to make it. She was 60 plus and I was 20. The slutty part was that she offered me $30. So I had sex with a grandma for $30. Not my finest moment. I was bartending and told an older, not very attractive woman I'd go home with her if she tipped me well. I was 22, she was easily in her mid to late 40s, and she tipped me and the other bartender $200. I did as promised. Did anal sex with a girl I met on Adult Friend Finder. Pics did not match. Still smashed anyway. My brain said abort, but my wiener said stay. 3/10 would not recommend. Had sex with 2 of my exes on the same day and went home with someone else. Met a guy on Tinder and invited him over 20 minutes later. He ended up leaving mid-sex after admitting he had a girlfriend. Whoops. In college I was making out with a girl who I was friends with on the way back from the bar to her place, and I was planning on hooking up with her that night. Back at her house there are about 10 of us hanging out and I'm sitting on the couch with my arm around her shoulders. I get a text from one of the other girls who lives there and who had gone to her computer to order Jimmy John's for everyone that says come upstairs, so I did. I walk into her room, she closes her laptop and says we have 15 minutes before Jimmy John's gets here. I said okay and we had sex. Sorry, Katie. Went to a strip club with a couple friends on one of their 21st birthdays. I am getting a lap dance, which turned into 3 songs, and I mentioned something along the lines of I'm broke and I don't think I can get any more dances. She said just pay me whatever you can or something to that effect. 1 or 2 songs later she says I really want to fuck you. I replied I really want to fuck you too. She reaches into my basketball shorts, yeah, I'm a classy gentleman club attendee, pulls out my dick, moves her panties to the side and slides me inside her. I had been drinking, but I was not drunk. Immediately following the thought of how good that felt were thoughts of being inside of a stripper without a condom. Also the fact that we really were not very hidden at all. This was on a couch along a back wall. It was very dark, but still, people were walking past occasionally and sitting nearby. It was pretty uncomfortable, but a huge turn on at the same time. I got tested the following Monday and again a year later because they said it might be too early to test for some things. For a few weeks, every time I peed, any sort of abnormality would freak me out. Edit, thanks for the gold. I'm glad my sluttiness could bring some joy to all you slut lovers. Met a chick from back in the AOL days at a public park. Was fucking her in the ass, I mean dropping back a foot, ramming it, and she's loving it. It was around dusk and off in the distance I notice a man about 30 to 40 yards away jacking it, so I stop. She starts asking why I stopped and reaching back trying to pull me back in, and I'm like, there's some dude watching, and she goes, it's okay, it's my husband, he likes to watch, don't stop. I finished. Had a hookup with a girl from a pre-Facebook social media site. Later that same day I had a threesome planned with one of my best friends and a girlfriend that really wanted to get reamed by two dudes. I felt really slutty. What helps you go to sleep when you don't feel tired? I just make up stories in my head. Sometimes I'm in the world of a TV show I like or in my own little dream universe I made where I have made up characters and such. And eventually I just fall asleep doing this. White noise, such as rain sounds. Reading. It's kinda sad, but I've realized books put me to sleep now, even if it's an exciting book. Thinking about all the gophers I didn't run over in 2005. This is so silly, but I watch the 09 Sherlock Holmes movie with RDJ. Puts my ass right to sleep like I done been knocked out. Get up for a little bit. Don't stay in bed for 3 hours when you're unable to sleep. Also get off your phone. I learned a trick recently that helps me a lot. I count backwards from 99. Slowly. The key is to do it slowly, and I cannot emphasize the importance of that enough. Think the number, then take a pause that feels a little bit too long before thinking the next number, then take another pause. 99, pause. 98, pause. 97, pause. 96, pause. The lowest I've ever counted is into the 60s or maybe the 50s before I fall asleep. Often, I'm asleep before I'm through the 80s. Sometimes I'll lose track of what the next number is because I catch myself falling asleep, so I'll start over, and I always fall asleep quickly after that. Again, the key is to count backward, slowly. Before I started doing this, I used to toss and turn in bed for hours trying to fall asleep. But this knocks me out in minutes. Maybe you're wondering why start at 99? Why not 100? If I start at 100, I hear Bono's voice from the Rattle and Hum version of Bullet the Blue Sky, saying slap an M down. 100, 200, which eventually leads to am I buggin' you? Don't mean to bug you from silver and gold. And that bugs me, which makes it even harder to fall asleep, god damn it. So, I start at 99 instead, because fuck that. I play some stories in my head. Like you're suddenly a character in your favorite series and what would you do and stuff. Well, not Reddit, that's for sure, sent at 2:47 in the morning. Edit, I thankfully did end up falling asleep. And yada yada etc. Thanks for the silver. How it's made. That shit should be called how it's melatonin.